All right, so we are here with Josh Bungen, president of Rides USA, to talk about his new venture with e-bikes and National Bike Month and what we can kind of expect to see in the future of e-bikes. And is this the new electronic fad that might replace and or complement scooters? So thank you for joining us, Josh. Can you tell me what inspired you to start Rides USA?
Well, my wife and I, we went for an e-bike ride. We went to the Grand Canyon and we found some e-bikes out at the private airport there, and we took them into the Grand Canyon for the day, and we realized that they were really fun. And we had already had electric scooters at that point. So, but on the way back, after riding them all day and stuff, your wrists start to hurt and stuff like that. And so I was like, man, I could do something better. I could build a better bike than this. It'll be more comfortable and, that kind of thing. So that's just, I started researching other brands, buying up bikes from other brands, test riding them for a while, a couple hundred miles, and just kind of made a list of what, would be best for people that would make them more comfortable, that wasn't on the market as, at a good price and stuff like that.
What is your background as it relates to e-bikes, besides just being somebody who enjoys riding them?
My background is I have another business and it's risk management. So I do a lot of work with manufacturing, inspecting manufacturing facilities, watching process, complete operations, workers' comp issues, those kind of things. So I look at all of the nuts and bolts of businesses and try to figure out how that they can do it better, safer, more productive and stuff like that, with less liability in their product line, less lawsuits for class actions and stuff like that. So I've been doing that, 15 or 20 years, and I just kind of applied that to this and try to make it better.
So you were mentioning that e-bikes were kind of born from scooters. What makes yours the next big thing? Like, what makes yours better than your competitors, whether it's scooters and or e-bikes?
Well, most of the bikes out there right now are either they're either at the low point where that gets people into the market and that gets them into e-bike riding. And that might be like your electric XP for $899, which would have mechanical brakes, no suspension, generic motors, generic batteries, small stuff like that. And then you have your higher end, which is like Treks and things like that, and they go up to $8,000. And so there's like a middle ground there where we're trying to, they say that a good e-bike costs between $1,500 and $4,000, and we're trying to be between $1,500 and $2,200 and offer hydraulic brakes, full suspension, or suspension in the front, suspension seat posts, big batteries, and stuff like that, just to make people more comfortable, and home chargers and things like that. So there are other people offering bikes like we do. They're just more expensive usually. And so we're just trying to have a real thin profit margin and get bikes out to people so that they can be comfortable.
Can you tell me a little bit about the ergonomics of your bike? Because I know that this is something that's obviously, if you're gonna be riding this for a while, you were talking about how scooters maybe weren't as comfortable on the wrists. What are some of the main ergonomic features of your bike?
All of our bikes have adjustable handlebars up and down, and they can rotate back and forth. And they also have front fork suspension, and you can adjust that softer or harder or lock it out. And they either have rear suspension or they have suspension seat post. And we try to get the widest, most comfortable seat that they will allow us. They give us 3 choices. We get the widest one because Americans are a little bit bigger people, and we try to give everybody all the options, and then a lot of people upgrade the seats to like Cloud9s and things like that. But the fundamentals are there, so people don't have to go adding front fork suspension or adding suspension seat post, that kind of thing.
Right, makes sense. Okay, so aside from price point, what are some reasons that maybe people should own an e-bike as opposed to a regular bike or a motorcycle or a Vespa?
E-bikes, you don't have to have a driver's license for them. If they're beyond, if you keep them within a class 2 setting, which all of our bikes come as a class 2, customers can unlock them and they can go faster on private property or wherever that's allowed. But they all come as class 2, so they do not require insurance or a license or anything like that. And it costs like 30 cents to go 20 miles on one, and parking is easy and you can bring it inside, and
And that, that actually leads me to my next question. How do you hope to help the environment with your e-bikes? I know we're talking about the batteries and the cost efficiency and how far you can go for a little price without, obviously, gas prices don't affect these e-bikes.
I think e-bikes there is a footprint for e-bikes because the lithium battery requires some work from that causes some pollution. But the e-bikes they're projecting that like in 2019 they sold 3.7. There was 3.7 million sold, and then in 2020 it was 4.5 million, and then they're projecting 10 million a year by 2024 and 17 million a year by 2030. Wow. So that, you know, as governments promote, like the U.S. government, the legislation is looking at giving an e-bike rebate, you know, up to $1,500 for 30% of your purchase price. That may not get done this year, but maybe next year, because they're discussing it.
Yeah.
But a lot of governments are looking at that to try to get people to like switch over from cars, and maybe it's not as big of a burden on society to have a bus line or a railroad to go short distances and stuff like that. So I think it helps, and plus gets people out moving around, and they can use it on the week, even if they use it for work.
Now let's switch your focus to the business aspect of it, because, you know, obviously there's a lot of people out there, other aspiring business owners. What's been one of the biggest challenges with starting Amp Rides USA?
Fundamentally, the biggest challenge is capital. You know, I'm trying not to have venture capitalists involved or banks or anything like that, and trying to keep it to a no debt situation. I'm trying not to front load and charge customers for 3 months in advance, like a lot of brands for the bike. Just ask for $100 deposit so we know you want it, and then you pay when it's a couple weeks out. So you have to be willing to grow slowly, but also the benefit to that is that you don't have to raise the prices to pay the venture capitalists and the banks their cut, and you don't have them telling you to cut corners to meet their profit margins and how to design things. You know, if I want to make a change, it takes 4 months. You know, the next batch of bikes that gets here in 4 months. If I want to do something better or something more expensive or whatever. The other thing is that right now there's a supply shortage with all the parts bottlenecking from COVID and the demand and things like that. So we have a few factories that we work with, and we kind of like feel them out and see where they are with their parts and things like that. And we will order what can come the quickest. We don't want to, a lot of times they're like, hey, will you take a generic battery? Or will you take, you know, this or that, you know, some sort of feature off of the bike. They're like, we're out of this part. We can't offer you hydraulic brakes, so we just don't order them. You know, we don't cut the corners.
Right.
But there is a supply shortage. I think that probably 2022, 2023, that will go away a little bit. But, you know.
Yeah. Understandable. And I think the COVID's made a challenge for everyone, no matter what your industry is. You mentioned the scooters in national parks. Are there any sort of partnerships that you hope to have from a more commercial perspective rather than just business to consumer?
Yeah, we're always talking to different security agencies, you know, rent-a-cops kind of people, mall cops, you know, that drive around the mall in the car now, or they ride like one of those, I forget what they're called. They're like, what?
The Segways?
Segways, yeah. Those Segways, yeah, the Segways are much more expensive than an e-bike. And so, you know, that we're trying to get them into, I think they would be a good opportunity for park rangers that have to patrol trails, national parks, things like that on their bicycles. Police downtown in cities, you know, could run all day on one and catch people. You know, if they police on a bike, sometimes they can't catch the other guy on the bike or the car, or, you know, because they're just not fast enough. So
that's really interesting. I never thought about that. So now let's shift it back to a consumer perspective here. What should people know safety-wise about using an e-bike?
The e-bikes all come with a power assist setting, so you can adjust the torque and the start off speeds down, you know, from 1 to 5 or 1 to 9. And you can also adjust your gears to where you take off in a lower gear to where it's like a mountain bike. And also in the settings, you can adjust to where the motor barely turns on, or you can have it to where you just pedal and the motor's not helping you at all, and then you push the button up and start going, but people should be wearing helmets. Most of my customers are over 55, so most
Really?
of them have helmets. That demographic has disposable income and lots of free time, and they want to be active, so like most of the e-bikes right now are getting bought by the baby boomer generation.
That's another question because I didn't think about that. You say because most people think about bikes being outdoors, you think a little bit of a younger generation, and you're telling me that this is more the people, the kind of the boomers want to get out post-COVID, that's what you're seeing more of, yes?
Yeah, they're like the early adopters, it seems like, and a lot of the youth maybe are struggling with COVID and just paying their bills, and this is a group of people that's like, well, hey, if we spend $1,500 on a bike, then we have an activity to, we can go out 2 or 3 times a week, we get some exercise. I get a lot of husbands and wives, that buy them, and that really gets them a lot of adventures. Instead of being like 3 miles around their golf course community or their town, now they can go 20, 30 miles away, and they can and it costs them 30 cents to go out for the day, and to charge the battery, it costs 30 cents.
We've talked about golf courses. What are some other fun adventures that you might suggest people can take on e-bikes?
We have thousands and thousands of miles of rails to trails, and the bikes are allowed on rails to trails. So you can ride them in bike lanes, you can ride them on the street, any street, your neighborhood, you can ride them in the bike lanes, sidewalks, they're not banned from anything. You just, anywhere you can ride a normal bike, you can ride an e-bike at this point.
Is there anything else you'd like to add relevant to e-bikes and National Bike Month?
I'm just excited. We're excited about e-bikes, and I think that every month you meet 60 or 80 new people, and they become your friends. They're like, even after they get their bikes, they're sending you jokes, and they're posting things and tagging you all over online with them, and things like that. So it's just a great way to meet people, and the group of people that ride these bikes are just, it's not political, and in this climate, it's just a great activity to have something that's not political. It's just straight fun for everyone that wants to get involved,
Do you think that's a way that people are that's going to kind of help build brand loyalty as well?
Yeah, I think if you can build something that unites people and gets them back to all being in a community and not being divided over some topic, and be interactive, and they post pictures, and they'll take their bikes on their RV to some new place, and they'll be like, here's my bike at the Grand Canyon, or here's my bike at this baseball stadium. It's just a way for people to be involved, and it's not expensive. Like, once you make your investment, it's not like golf where it's a feeder, you have to pay to play all the time, or vacations, they cost a lot of money. People can just go out and buy lunch somewhere or pack a lunch, and they can just go out and have fun.
All right, well, great. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I cannot wait to get mine here pretty soon. And I'll definitely keep everyone abreast of the adventures. Before we leave out, do you want to just drop all your social media accounts for anyone who's interested to follow?
It's Amp Rides USA on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.